menu's pretty easy to navigate. You got clues, you got side cases, and the different clues. You can go back, you can review them. If there was a video to go with them, you can go back and watch the video again. And then you've got these 3 little badges off to the right hand side. If you're doing good in your investigation, all of those badges will be full. I'll show you a little later what happens when you miss something. This is your side cases. Right now we have some of our ghost abilities, but not all of them. Right now we have pass through walls, we have investigate, we have reveal, and we have remove. Each one of those locks indicates a different set of side cases you can get. Some things tell you more about your main character's life or the people around him. Options here, got some pretty good options. Not the most thorough I've ever seen. If you're one of the people who likes really playing with your video and sound options, there's not a lot of choices, but for what the game is, it's a fair amount. I play on the control pad myself, so all the controls you're going to see are going to be related to the control pad. Not very much for sound controls at all. I like playing with my subtitles on. Sometimes I have to turn the volume right down. You can't hear anything, so you leave it up so you can see them. Now we're going to move on. This is the first investigation. Gives you an idea of how the gameplay works. You can now move around a little more freely. And it's going to give you some hints on the first one, of course, of how you need to investigate.
See what they've learned.
Need to take a look at the book. Need to talk to the witness.
I saw him.
Obvious things. Need to find out what the 2 cops are whispering about. Now you'd think that would be pretty easy for a ghost.
Nice to know what they're talking about.
Well, the way they do it, a little bit odd to me, but it'll work for the purpose of the game. New investigation. Who killed me? Pretty good investigation. So, video is pretty smooth for the most part. Controls are pretty smooth. A little simplistic. You don't have a crouch. You don't have a jump that you can really control. You do have a zoom in if you want to look closer at something. Pretty much the game is an one button game, in this case X. X does almost all your actions. It helps you talk to people. The other one is right trigger, which lets you possess people. But for most part, investigations are X's. Now, some things you find are really easy. You walk up, you click X, oh look, I've got something. Others are more like this notepad. You actually get 3 choices, and you have to pick what's the most important piece of evidence there. In this case, we have forensics, we have a missing tenant, and then we have the only weapon at the scene is your own. That means the killer that came here and killed you didn't have a weapon on him. That's the most important in this case. You can see I get all 3 shields for it. Now, possessing people lets you do certain things. One of them is peek, as you just saw. You can also mind read. Now, for the most part, mind reading is pretty useless. There are some funny comments you'll get from some people, but for the most part, it's kind of a waste of time. Now we're going to possess the witness here, and we get the influence option. Now, influence, we have to pick something that's going to trigger a memory so that she can tell us what happened or give us another clue. Now, I've got 2 that are locked. Those are ones I haven't found yet. This is what I'm going to pick right now. Not the right one. You can see one of the shields disappeared, and it told me you don't have the right clue right now. The last thing you can do by possessing people is to eavesdrop. So these 2, they're going to have their little conversation. It's going to give me a clue of some kind.
Crazy. Ronan, unbelievable. I don't get it. What was he even doing here? Asking for it. A witness called in saying he saw the bell killer enter a building. Ronan responds, disregards orders for backup. Next thing you know, the bell killer tried to see if he could make him sprout angel wings. And then bam, 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 bam. 7 to the chest. Point blank.
You really have no idea when to quit, do you, Baxter?
Ever take a look at those tattoos of his? All that gangland prison crap? Who's more criminal than cop?
So now they've had their conversation, we know that this is
He was still
probably a
bad,
bell
but
killer
then-
murder. Back in control of myself, I can dispossess people with the B button and I can wander around again. Now you can possess just about any living human in the game. You can also possess cats later on to get into tight spaces. Obviously, as a ghost you can't pick anything up, as you saw in the starting video. A couple mind reading pieces here, just to give you an idea of the kind of comments you're going to see.
I tell people and it's like they think
Obviously
I'm
nothing
insane.
terribly impressive from what they say. Odd comments, things like that. You'll get the odd funny one.
Thing is just weird.
So we've possessed some people, we've had our fun. Now we're going to go back to the case. We are going to go and we're going to possess the witness again, because now we've got some more information. Seen that one before. The bell killer, our new clue. That's the right clue. So now you can see I'm short one badge on that one. She's going to give us some more information, tell us why she thinks the guy was here,
Outside.
and we'll
Looking
continue
up
with our
at the
investigation.
Top apartment on the 4th floor, I think.
Again, back in control. Can't influence her anymore. That's it. In here you can see I'm short a badge, and you can see the count in the top right corner. At this point, 11 out of 13.
The killer came here for a reason. But what was it? The apartment up there must have some clues. So that's my way in. That's closed. Fantastic. Here's my chance. I just need to follow Stewart into the building.
Now obviously we couldn't get into the building before.
Hey, excuse me.
Now the
Do I
door's
need to
open,
wait
we
for
should
someone
be able to
open
get
the
in.
door every time I want to go inside?
This ghost here, just a random ghost. Again, you can talk to most of them. Some of them are going to have side quests for you, helping them figure out what happened to them.
Same goes.
Other ones, they're just going to be
windows,
maybe a little bit of
whatever.
information,
It's all
maybe
fair
just
game.
a funny comment. Maybe they'll just
How many
say,
buildings are
leave
like
me
this?
alone. There are a
Around
couple
here,
that say that.
Pretty much all of them. Don't worry, you'll get the hang of it.
As far as it goes,
Thanks.
as I said, control's fairly smooth. Storyline's interesting to a point. The gameplay itself is fairly slow, as you can see. A lot of looking around, a lot of exploring. If that's the type of game you like, it's a game you're probably going to like. No particular weapon system. And here behind the door you'll see demons. That's the other manifestation. Hands were the first one, those cloaked guys are the second. A little later on we'll show you what you do to escape those guys or hunt them down. Now, the other thing you find as you're going is these collectibles. In this case, a water heater. As you collect them in different areas, they'll unlock ghost stories. Reveal lets you reveal stuff like bridges, walkways, etc. There's another collectible. And then there will be remove, which will remove doorways and stuff like that, just like you saw the girl do at the starting of the game. Now this is late in the game now. This is one of the last places you explore. Walk through walls. You can see the gray walls you can't go through. That collectible tells a little bit more about his wife, who you saw die in the starting video. And you've got writing about the killer. Now, another ability you get is teleport. Lets you go through walls. Pick this up, turn around. Hole in the wall. I can teleport through it. Now, if it's a solid gray wall, you can't teleport through it. You can't teleport through regular walls. You have to be able to see where you're going. There's a demon. These guys will patrol their little areas. We have these ghostly essences that we can hide in. You have the ability to see through walls and locate demons. So all of those together, you have a pretty good tool set for avoiding them and getting by them. Now, if you're looking to explore, obviously just killing them is not going to do you very well. There's these ravens here. You can use those to distract. They can't see through walls. They can only see if you're in the same room as them. They will eventually come and look at the Raven here. There we go. You can sneak out behind them. And as long as you sneak out behind them, you can execute them by doing a single button combination. As you can see, no real weapon system in the game, just that. Not really a fast-paced game. A lot of exploration, as I said. If you're looking for an action game, this is not the one. Now these are the ghost stories you can unlock. I'm going to pick one here. If you want the story, you can read it on the bottom. Basically, shows you a picture, tells you a ghost story.
For the Department of Mental Health.
Kind of neat.
During that time, I've been to a lot
Maybe I
of
would have chosen a little better ghost stories. I'm going to have to do some research and see if these are actually true stories or not. But for the purpose of the game, they work fairly well.
Even comes close.
Overall, I'd probably give this game a 6 out of 10. The storyline's pretty good, but fairly slow moving at the same time. The game's also very short. Myself, I didn't find everything, but I found most of it, and it took me only about 8.5 hours, 9 hours to go through it. That was taking my time, walking away from the computer with the game on, stuff like that. Graphics are pretty good, fairly smooth. The glow effects and shadows are pretty good. Other than that, pacing slow even for a puzzle type game. They say it's supposed to be spooky. I don't particularly find it all that spooky myself. More just dark.
The superintendent's family was visiting one day.
A little bit of comedy if you listen to some of the comments people make, but overall, I think a 6 out of 10 is pretty fair. That's it for me for today.
No one knows what happened.
Have a good day, have a good night, whichever it is when you're watching this, and we'll see you next time.
That is, until now. Superintendent Wallace Halstead greeted me at the door. He seemed as empty and unkempt as the patients he lorded over. And as I conducted my evaluation, I couldn't help but notice how nervous he got when I passed by a small broom closet. And naturally, I felt it necessary to find out why. When I opened the door, I was hit by the overpowering smell of human excrement. As the light flickered on overhead, I was horrified at what I saw. A withering man lay shackled to the floor in a pile of his own filth. Years of sunless existence had turned his skin, hair, and eyes milky white. He had been chained there for so long that his skin had grown over the shackles. It took me a moment to realize that the husk of a man was Jack Yates. The police arrived and Dr. Halstead was carted off. Doctors moved Yates from the small room for the first time in 15 years. The floor beneath him was permanently stained with the shape of his silhouette. They tried to remove the shackles from under his skin, but the shock of it all was too much for him. He died the next day. I watched as they walled up his tiny prison, trying to pretend that it never happened. I honestly hope he's in a better place, although the staff still claims to hear his agonizing wails coming from inside the walls.